to the next webinar in our Coffee with the Experts Zero Trust series. Today we're going to focus and talk about Security Operations Center as a service. My name is Paul Sexton. I'm the cybersecurity sales specialist here at HCS, and I'm joined on the call today by John White, who's our head of cybersecurity solutions at HCS. We've also got our marketing manager, who I'm sure everyone has seen in our emails from, Kathy Gilmartin, on the call as well today. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to write into the chat box. It's moderated, so only we will see your questions. We also, this is the second in our Coffee with the Experts series, so if you haven't already gotten your HCS mug, then let us know, and we'll happily post it out to you. I think anyone who signed up for this webinar, the mugs will be going in the post today or tomorrow. So definitely reach out. Let us know if you don't receive your mug. Okay, so to start off, I'm just going to run through a little bit of an agenda. Today's session, we're going to look at, as I said, a Fortinet SOC as a service. So sometimes abbreviated to SOC. I know abbreviations are massive in IT, but SOC stands for Security Operations Center. We will look at what it is, why you might need it, how it works, and then we'll have a quick run through of a short demonstration to show how simple it is to use. And that's where John is going to run through a system that we've set up ourselves with some alerts. You'll be able to see exactly how easy it is to run and what's involved in setting it up. I'll also discuss a little bit about FortiGuard Labs, which is Fortinet's research and development arm. And yeah, as I said, the Fortinet SOC as a service. So what is SOC as a service? A Security Operations Center, or sometimes also abbreviated to SOT, which is Security Operations Team, is a team of security experts who are going to monitor all of a company's digital assets and look for anomalies or security incidents. So it's somewhat outsourcing cybersecurity, a certain element of it. They can be tasked with orchestrating and responding to any security incidents within the organization. It can be really expensive to set this up yourself, so that's why it's a really good idea to look to outsource this, right? So there's a couple of challenges doing it yourself. It can be expensive to set it up for the organization or to outsource it to an IT service provider. So some of our competitors, or HCS competitors, IT service providers, do offer this, but it can be quite costly. If your current provider is providing the service, you know, how much is it costing you? Often we find that they're actually outsourcing the companies to Fortinet, but they're passing it off as their own and charging organizations a premium for doing so. At HCS, we're actually not doing the monitoring. We're leaving that to the biggest cybersecurity company in the world, who are Fortinet. And what it is 24/7, 365 monitoring. Often you see the cybersecurity attacks happen on a Friday of a long weekend or over a holiday period, and we can reference the HSC hack that was last year, which happened on a Friday evening. Also, Kaseya was a big ransomware attack last year, that was a supply chain attack, and that was on a Thursday over a Thanksgiving weekend in the US, and that's only to name a few. You know, I'm sure everyone on the call knows how prevalent this can be. Hackers don't work 9 to 5, so your security needs to adapt to that as well, and you need to be able to pick up on threats 24/7, 365. And one of the things I think is key to having a SOC is also who is being alerted, right? A lot of times we hear about alert fatigue in cybersecurity these days, and that's where the people in charge and people looking at getting the alerts are just, you know, they're bombarded with so many alerts that they can't, you know, see the wood from the trees. So it's important to look at who is being alerted and what's being done once the escalation path is started. So, you know, why do you need SOC as a service? So reducing cybersecurity costs. So when you outsource a SOC as a service, you can reduce your cybersecurity costs, provided you avail of the right service. You know, maintaining strong corporate cybersecurity is expensive. a company may require multiple platforms and licenses in order to achieve comprehensive visibility and protection against cyber threats. A centralized SOC enables an organization to reduce these costs by sharing them across the entire organization. Elimination of departmental silos reduces the additional overhead associated caused by duplication and redundancy. Additionally, there's actually an effective security operations center helps an organization to save money in the long run by reducing your cybersecurity risk. A data breach, as we all know, can easily carry a price tag that's going to be pretty hefty. And a successful ransomware attack carries heavy costs in terms of downtime and system recovery. A SOC that blocks even a single cyber attack before the damage is done has already demonstrated a significant return on investment. There's one other thing here as well that's coming more to the forefront in recent years, and that's your cybersecurity insurance. So if you mentioned that you avail of a security operations center as a service, that's going to reduce your premium for your cybersecurity insurance. There's with a SOC, there's pre, during, and post-attack forensics. So attacks often consist of tactics and patterns. Each individual attack is going to leave almost a fingerprint of what has happened. This can be used to see attacks in real time, look at what the hackers are attempting, and also post-attack gives you the speed to stop the infection before it spreads to other machines on the network. And when I mention speed, that's where it's going to be really critical for a security operations center. Anomalies are detected almost instantly. The hacks I've mentioned, which is HSE, Kaseya, and SolarWinds as well, all of these attacks involved hackers having access to a network or the organization for several months and move laterally to increase their privileges, and they're only detected once the damage is done. A security operations center allows you to detect and then block further attacks as soon as they happen. A better collaboration. So when you utilize SOC as a service from Fortinet, analysts will work with you and your team to understand the attack and provide remediation. And that's really key. They're going to tell you exactly what they would do in your situation in order to resolve what has happened. If you're unsure about something or something doesn't look right, there's actually a phone number that you can dial and speak to an actual person. It's not an automated machine, because obviously the reason that you're availing of this service is to have that speed and the reaction time in order to mitigate anything that goes wrong. So you're actually going to speak to a security operations center analyst who will talk you through any questions that you may have. And I thought this stat was quite telling. 90% of cyber attacks begin with spear phishing emails. So when you open up a malicious attachment or click on a malicious link, from that point on, it's about the speed of the IT team knowing where the attack is originated from, knowing the indicators of compromise, and being able to mitigate and reduce the risk based on that attack. So, what does Security Operations Center as a service of Fortinet look like? So this is a piece of information that I've taken directly from the Fortinet website, and there's a couple of really key things in here that you're going to be able to pick up on straight away. And there's detect, investigate, respond, monitor, management, and tuning. This is all involved in SOC as a service. But I think the big things that you're looking at here are certainly remediation recommendation. So when something goes wrong, when they are alerting you, we'll look at this in the demonstration in a second as well. But they are going to provide you with what they would do in your situation, and you're talking to cybersecurity experts. So there's definitely going to be a lot of benefit to that. When I mentioned that there's pre and during attack forensics, over here you can see that there's indicators of compromise and suspicious activity. So maybe it's something that doesn't look like a cyber attack from the outset, but there's suspicious activity happening in the environment. The SOC will also pick up on that and alert you. and also the indicators of compromise. So post-attack, when you're looking to shore up the weak spots that allowed an attack to happen, and I think everyone knows at this stage that it's a case of when and not if an organization is open to an attack. Knowing the indicators of compromise allow you to go back and retrospectively improve and harden that area of your network or your corporate cybersecurity, so that you can almost turn a weakness into a strength. So what do you need for SOC as a service for Fortinet? So the basic kind of entry level requirement is Fortinet, FortiGate firewalls. You need the correct licensing from Fortinet on those firewalls, and then every other every other Fortinet device added to your organization becomes Fabric and SOC aware, which means the more devices you have from Fortinet, the more they are all reporting back to your security operations center, so they've got more visibility of what's happening in your environment. The one part that sometimes gets forgotten around Fortinet is that they are the biggest cybersecurity company on the planet. So they've got an awful lot of intelligence out there in the field. Okay, so I think they've got they've got millions of devices worldwide. And one of the really cool things about Fortinet is that because their platform is so wide and diverse, they're ingesting and they're analyzing more than 100 billion events every day on average. And they're delivering 1 billion security updates daily across their security fabric and ecosystem. And then, if you imagine that if Fortinet sees a threat happening in a different part of the world, with the millions of events that they're seeing from their fabric deployments, they're preventing a second patient zero for community known threats within 10 minutes. And what I mean by that is, if a device in a different country picks up a threat that Fortinet haven't seen before, FortiGuard Labs will kick in and say, okay, we can see that this is a threat. We need to do something about it, and we are going to push security updates out to every device that we own straight away, so that within 10 minutes, your device is not going to, or your network isn't going to be susceptible to the same attack to happen in that kind of patient zero area, right? And that happens within 10 minutes. So the reaction time is second to none for the length and breadth of the cybersecurity packages that Fortinet are able to offer. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it across to John. I just got to stop my sharing and leave John share his.
Please.
And okay. Yeah, John will go through a demonstration about what the SOC actually looks like. So you should be able to share now, John.
Yep. Can everybody hear me? Yep.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much for that great lot of information there, Paul. I'm just briefly going to go through SOC as a service, what it looks like, what it has, and some of its features, and the user interface on it. Basically, this is a system that is on a live test network with HCS. So we actually have these devices are live and feeding into the SOC. So basically, your very first screen, when you go into SOC, click on SOC as a service, and this is the screen you get. So it gives you a summary here of the devices that you have connected into the SOC. Over here, you have information updates that will change regularly from the SOC team. And down below here, we have a ticket tape of current outbreak alerts. So we can click on any of these and it'll open up a page describing the issue and describing exactly all the details about it and what versions of protection you need on your FortiGate products to be able to protect you against this known virus outbreak. Down here, then you have news on the SOC and you have various resources, including how to do an onboarding form for a new network or a new firewall. So the next area then you go to is your dashboard. And the dashboard will show you basically your current active alerts, and I can also change this so that I can look at my instance over the last 90 days. And this will give me a breakdown of a summary. So I can see the severity, I can see the status, I can see the SLA, and I can also see the category for these. So I can see others and risky app. Within these here, I can actually click on the actual incident, and that will pop up the details about that instance. So I can see here that this was a risky app. A BitTorrent was detected, and this is the machine that the actual BitTorrent was running on. So I get complete feedback. This was actually sent to me via email, and I could immediately, that machine was immediately locked out of the network due to the alert being issued on it, and then I could go in and clean that machine. Okay, so it allowed me, the machine was isolated and it was not able to do what it was trying to do. I could, for instance, if I had a genuine reason to use BitTorrents, I could whitelist the BitTorrent app to allow it. Shouldn't really, but if I look here, I have two other ones down here. So I have this high-risk app, and these high-risk apps are AnyDesk and TeamViewer. But HCS is an IT support team, and our support team quite often use TeamViewer and AnyDesk to be able to remote control onto customers' desktops to be able to assist them with their technical issues. So the response here became then that this high-risk app was detected. So there was feedback then saying, this is okay, we want to add AnyDesk and TeamViewer onto our whitelist of applications. So the status was closed and the risk was accepted. So I get a complete history of all my risks here. And there's the logs even from the machines that the issue occurred on. I can also, from here, I can issue what they call service requests. So for instance, I'm after generating a new service request that I want a weekly security report, and I want it sent to jwhite@hcs.ie. I could add another service request here, and basically my service requests fall under these headings. If I want technical assistance, escalation matrix update. So for instance, when an alert occurs, there's different levels of escalation. So my primary escalation for medium low alerts could be to email certain contacts, be that a contact group or a particular individual within an organization, and that will allow us then to be able to get that alert and act on it. I could also, if it was urgent or critical alert, that could actually phone somebody. So the SOC, a human, will phone somebody within our organization to say, we have this critical alert on your network, you need to do this, this, and this. We're sending you an email, and we'll also be available for you to assist you with the remediation from this issue that's on your network. We can also do a whitelist request, be that an application or a particular IP address that we want to whitelist that we know is not a threat. We can onboard a device. We can decommission a device. So if our FortiGate firewall is no longer in use and we've updated it, we can decommission the old device. We can add somebody to have portal access. We can set up a new monitoring request, a new report request, a service inquiry, or others, which cover any other eventuality. Within here, I can also view my assets. So basically, this shows me my firewalls that are currently logging onto the system. So for instance, I can click on the firewall, and not only will it tell me the actual serial number, but it will also tell me when it was registered and when the expiry date on its current support contract occurs. And it'll also show me the location on the map of the actual device. Again, all this, it's all summary. So there's very little a person can do to actually break the SOC as a service. It's actually more a data streaming from the actual SOC as a service to you, the customer. Okay. Okay, I think that's it. Paul, if you want to take back there.
Thanks, Sean. Do you want to
okay, yeah,
stop sharing your screen?
I'll end the sharing there now. Okay, so there
Thank
you go.
You. Yep. All good.
No problem.
Okay, John, can you confirm you can see that again?
Yes, I can. Yeah, Paul, yeah.
Okay, so just to discuss partnerships, HCS, as I said, we're not actually doing the monitoring here for the customers. That's all done by Fortinet. They've got different locations. I think it's 4. There's 2 in Canada, 1 in Prague, and I can't remember the other
Singapore.
one, John. Singapore, yeah. So 24/7, 365, in completely covered. HCS, what we actually provide is, we've set up SOC as a service for our customers. We can advise on best practice on how to implement it. We're Fortinet Advanced Partner, one of only two in Ireland. And yeah, I mean, if you have any questions around Fortinet or Microsoft, because we're also a Microsoft Gold Partner, feel free to reach out and get in touch. So just to summarize before we go into just looking at a few questions and answers, to go over, Fortinet, your cybersecurity experts monitoring your network 24/7, 365. So if anything does go wrong, these guys are going to be alerting you almost instantaneously, and allows you to take corrective action before anything bad, very bad happens. By utilizing SOC as a service, you improve your cybersecurity posture and you reduce your cybersecurity costs. So it's, in that regard, it's a no-brainer. You minimize the damage post-breach. So, as I said, it's a case of when and not if. Companies are having cyber attacks these days. You don't want someone who's going to be in your environment for months before you're able to pick up on that. SOC is a way to eliminate that from happening. HCS, we're Fortinet experts, and the last thing I'm going to mention before we do Q&As, we have another webinar coming up in 3 weeks, and it's going to be around driving efficiency with the Fortinet fabric, and that's going to be on the 31st of May. Not 2021, it's actually 2022. That was a typo on my behalf, but it'll be at the same time as 11 a.m. So now there's been a few questions. So the first one is, what is the minimum requirement to enable SOC as a service? So I mentioned earlier on that it's a FortiGate, but and then the right subscription. And when I say the right subscription, it's FortiAnalyzer, preferably in the cloud, FortiCloud Premium subscription, and subscription to the FortiGate for your FortiGate, the right subscription on that to utilize SOC, which includes SOC as a service. So that makes it sound a little bit more complicated than what it is. It's just the right licensing. And compared to if you're to go out to the market and to actually, go to an IT service provider and request a quote for Security Operations Center as a service, I can guarantee you it's going to be, doubles and triples of what it is through Fortinet. Just because economies of scale, as I said, that they're the biggest cybersecurity organization on the planet. So I'd argue that the service is going to be, much better, and at a reduced cost. So that's what's inquired. Another question here is, what are the escalation options? John, I think you touched on that in your part, but do you just want to go through that again?
Yeah, basically there is two primary levels of escalation. One is email, which again, when you fill in the SOC onboarding form, part of that is your escalation and the targets you want for your different levels of escalation. So primarily it's email, but you can, if it's at a certain level, such as critical, you can have a telephone number. That telephone number can be 24/7 number, 24/7 service, or a particular person within the organization that can respond to that query, or a support team that can respond to that query. So yeah, you have different levels of escalation that you can set up once you're onboarding your SOC.
Yeah, and again, if it's a priority one and it's something that needs to be managed ASAP, then you're going to want someone ringing you saying that there's an issue here. It's not a phone call that you're going to want to receive, but given the circumstances,
and they will assist you. The other thing to remember here as well is that the SOC as a service team will actually assist you with the remediation of the issue that's occurred within your network, that critical issue. So
which is one of the biggest plus points of having Fortinet providing this service, is that there's very little that they haven't seen. So you're going to want to have the backup of someone like Fortinet when something drastic like this happens. Another question, I think there's 3 more, John. How does HCS utilize the event handlers in FortiAnalyzer?
FortiAnalyzer. Basically, we use them. It varies from customer to customer. Sometimes it can be done via automation stitches. Sometimes you can use FAS, and sometimes it can be just passed to the SOC. So there's different levels, and it varies from client to client. It's not one brush for all. So
Okay.
okay.
How does HES handle false positives with FortiGuard signatures
Yeah.
that lead to accidental triggers and outcomes?
Experience. We have hundreds of Fortinet devices out there within the ether, and based on the knowledge that we've gained over the years installing FortiGates, we know the false positives, and we know what to enable and disable on devices and endpoints to minimize the number of false positives coming back.
Yeah, okay. The next question is, do you need to install software on the endpoints? So
No.
no, you don't is the answer to that. But
Yeah, the SOC as a
with
service
if you,
talks directly to your FortiGates. It's part of a service rather than an endpoint-driven product. You can
yeah,
to increase your inventory and what's reporting to the SOC. You can install FortiClient and have FortiClient talking back into your FortiFabric via EMS, but that's another set of products. That's another product set.
yeah. And to clarify on that, as long as you've got your FortiGates signed up with the correct licensing, all the other products that you add that are through Fortinet. So like John said, they're FortiClient. You don't have to pay extra for FortiClient to enable SOC as a service, because FortiClient are all talking to your FortiGates anyway. So any anomalies that are picked up on the FortiClient agent on your desktop or on your laptop is going to be reporting back to your FortiGate, which in turn is going to be reporting back to the SOC as a service.
Which, sorry, can I just add one of those instances that I demonstrated? That was FortiClient reported the actual machine name and the IP address back into the fabric, which was then made that incident more clear for the person. You know, for me, the end user looking at it to say, "Oh, I know where that laptop is. I know whose laptop that is." So yeah, they all talk to each other,
Yeah.
which is yeah.
And what we do at HCS is more of a consultancy-led approach. So, if you don't have an endpoint management system, we're not going to advise you to go and get it if you're not going to, get a good return on investment. We're not going to say you should do it just for the sake of having it as the SOC as a service. But we look at your potential risk. We look at what your acceptable risk is, and we'll advise on, almost like a technology optimization. What are you going to get most return on investment, and also limit the amount of risk that your organization is exposed to. So if you have any questions on what kind of software or what kind of hardware or subscription is right for me, then that's something that we're experts in. So we'd be happy to have that conversation. Can you ask the SOC to remotely block stuff and remediate?
No. Simple answer, and it's more to do with GDPR legislation than anything else. That's why you have the escalation. Now, there is once your FortiGate and your FortiClient is configured and set up with the correct automation scripts and configuration, if there's any, shall we say, traffic to, for instance, CNC centers, command and control for botnets, that will be automatically blocked. So it's a combination of having the correct configuration on your FortiGate, FortiClient install, and also then using the SOC to monitor instance outside the range of that and to alert you as quickly as possible. That's basically the tool set. At the end of the day, to physically block something has to be either that organization or their support team to do that physicality of actually blocking or remediating.
Okay, thanks, John.
Okay, no bother.
If the company is split up internationally, are you required to have individual license agreements with Fortinet for each entity in each country?
No. The simple answer. We currently have a company that are pushing out SOC as a service and SD-WAN management across multinational locations. So long as all the FortiGates are reporting back to the same support portal. So you as a company are set up with a FortiGate support portal, and that portal is where all those devices report back to. So no, and they all have to be licensed. Now those licenses can be bought locally, or they can be bought through HCS. There are certain licenses, I think, in the States we can't provide, but they can be provided by a local Fortinet reseller. And once they're on the devices are then just configured to report back into the central support Fortinet site. And yes, they can. So yes, you need license agreements for the FortiGates, not individual license agreements in each country with Fortinet, just to differentiate that.
Yeah, and there's one other question that kind of touched on this as well, but is there a minimum charge for the service to put all required components in place, or is it just dependent on the size of your infrastructure, number of servers, etc.? So as long as you have
infrastructure. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, well, if you, let's say you've got 5 FortiGates protecting 5 different offices, all those 5 FortiGates will have to have SOC as a service enabled and the right licensing on that. But once that's in place, it doesn't matter really if you've got 1 server or 10 servers, right? It's because it's all being monitored by the FortiGates. As long as they've got the correct licensing on them, then that's all required for the SOC as a service.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
Okay, so that's all the questions. So thanks very much. It's great to get that many questions because it makes it really interactive, and it obviously shows that there's a big requirement for SOC as a service in today's environment. And I think all you have to do is go onto any mainstream media to find out why there is that requirement right now. As we said, it's great for during and post breach, and that's where we all are in this day and age, right, in 2022. So anything that's going to be able to reduce your costs, increase your cybersecurity posture, but also mitigate that risk, and then after a breach, help strengthen exactly where you need to strengthen. And this is what SOC as a service is going to show you. So if anybody has any other questions, feel free to email myself or John or the HCS sales email address. We're happy to have any conversations about this. If you want to see a more in-depth demonstration about it and have a conversation around the different components of Fortinet and the fabric that are going to maybe enhance the SOC to a greater level, we're more than happy to have those conversations. So feel free to reach out, and for now we'll say thanks very much, and let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks very much. Take care. Bye-bye.